I set the scene with that and then asked, so what's true from y'all's perspective? Is it actually hard to hire? If so, why? When I actually think there's an abundance of talent out there. The very first thing that burst out of a prominent member's mouth was, the good talent is already hired right now. Welcome back to Answer the Call, the podcast where we help Christians discern their calling and practically land a job or start a business that's aligned with it. This week, I am giving you my very best investigative journalism. Truly, you guys, I think you will be so proud of me. Also, hi, Audrey. How are you?
Hi, I'm here.
I know. We talked about how you have had such a long day of calls. I told you that your therefore only job is to look cute, which you already do. And if anything I say doesn't make sense, you could say so, or just give your live reactions a little, just me to death, okay?
I am so excited to play this role. This has been everything in my life has been leading to this moment.
Oh my gosh. Well, with that, you also are going to be our live reaction audience to what I'm about to share, because as per the title, which I think is going to be titled something along the lines of, why is it hard to get hired? What a room full of executives told me last week. Whoa, I don't know. It's a working title. It might be different by the time anybody sees this. But essentially, I'm a part of a mastermind, which how do I even explain what that is if you don't know what a mastermind is? Basically, it's a group of, mine is anyway, a group of Christian business owners and executives of large companies. And so it's like a mix of entrepreneurs and business leaders. And it is such a privilege to be in this group. We meet together twice a year for a little retreat. And basically, there's a lot, like there's some teachings, there's some like inspiration, whatever, but it's like, I think 30 people or so. So it's like contained and we really get to know each other. So in this space for our spring 2025 retreat that just happened, I decided to use my one ticket, my one question for what do I get to ask the whole group. Did I use it for our business? No. Did I use it for my personal gain? Not totally, though it could indirectly be there. Guys, I did it for y'all. I asked a question for y'all.
Yay!
So that question was, I have been seeing articles in various places on the internet from the perspective of leaders that say it is so hard to hire right now. It is so hard to find good talent. We are at a deficit of white-collar talent. And to that, I flip my table. To that, I slam my laptop shut. What? So what I posed to them was, why am I seeing fairly consistent messaging from various voices online that are in major hiring positions of hiring say it is hard to find talent and it is hard to hire right now, when Audrey, you and I see, not only as career coaches, but just as average Joes out there with many friends who are bemoaning the challenges of this day and age where there's a lot of market fluctuations in the last few years, especially, but I wouldn't say it's the easiest time to get hired right now. I know a lot of hardworking, amazing, good-hearted people that are without a job and do not deserve to have shame put on them for being without a job. And so I said it in a much more concise way, but basically I set the scene with that and then asked, so what's true from y'all's perspective? Is it actually hard to hire? If so, why? When I actually think there's an abundance of talent out there that is kind of more willing to negotiate than ever. Like less people are in, I think our bubble has been burst around the large tech salaries of the 2021 and 2 boom. So anyway, I said, like, if you think it is hard to hire right now and hard to find good talent, why? And this is what they told me. I have 6 points that I'm going to share with you. The vast majority of them I completely agree with, and I'm like, whoa, that's so cute. That's actually what we teach our clients, and that's probably why they are getting hired right now and even able to make amazing career pivots. They don't even have to feel stuck to I have to do what have already been doing. I'm limited to what my background is. No, they're like really creatively carving a path that they truly feel called to, even against major odds in today's job market. So, I, like I said, or was saying, a lot of these I agree with, but I will throw in one that I really didn't even want to say because I thought it was so discouraging and annoying. And I didn't totally, I'm torn on how much of it I agree with, and I thought it would just be discouraging for people to hear. But like I said, I'm trying to be an investigative journalist over here, so I'm just going to convey exactly what I heard. Sound good?
I'm so interested to see which bullet point it is. Because
I'm just going to start with it.
Okay, I got the list ahead of time. I'm like, which one is it gonna be? Yeah, give the people no clickbait over here.
Okay. The very first thing that burst out of a prominent member's mouth was, the good talent is already hired right now. And I was like, say that to my face.
Wait.
No, come closer. Say it to my face one more time. I became the little guy in Elf that was like, say that one more time.
No, that wasn't on the list.
Yeah, it is.
Oh. Okay. I didn't read the list.
Like I said, you're a live reaction girl.
Exactly. This is the purpose that I have on today's call, because that feels really crazy to say.
It feels my gut reactions was that feels so entitled to have never been humiliated by a surprise layoff before. Like, because if you are a person, like, I do think that there are good people that just catch a short straw. Like, and it's just hard. And not everything works out all the time for everybody. And that doesn't always mean that you suck. And so I was just like, wow, okay, that's not a grace-filled answer. But can I hear some tough love in there? Yeah, and that's what I did want to sit with. I didn't want to just totally dismiss it, because honestly, that person who was saying that, I think, has demonstrated a tremendous amount of savviness in his career to have a very good reputation and be a person that is so generous and giving everybody value all the time that he was an obvious call when somebody had an opening. So I don't even think that this guy has had to apply to many jobs in his life, because he'll just get a call and get a call. And I know people like that. That is a valid way to operate in your career. And I will not totally pin that on luck. I do think that people I know who have, by the grace of God and many points of their own preparedness to be ready when the luck happens, not me trying to slip in Ida Garten's memoir title. That's one of my favorite books of this last year, is Be Ready When the Luck Happens. Such a good memoir.
Up next on my list.
Oh, let me know what you think. I just was so in love with it. But I do think that it's a both and. It's not totally just like, wow, yeah, God picked me for this life. Like, he's not a person that has probably, I can't imagine him letting his hands be idle. Like, he was always creating, overperforming, like really good stuff. And I've known, like, one of our clients is Charlotte. I think that she's a very similar person. She's probably soon to share her incredible story on the podcast, but she's a similar person that, by the great reputation and great work that she has made known to others, I think that she more easily gets invited into opportunity, and so doesn't have huge lag time between jobs unless it was a strategic pause of her own choice. And so what do you think about that? How can we derive a nugget of truth, even if it is very hard truth, from the, and I hope that people have not full send clicked out of this podcast. We're like, wow, Kelsey is in a mastermind with a bunch of jerks. That's not true. These are very, I meant to preface more that these are people of incredibly high character that have, many of them, as I shared, many amazing dinner conversations and have had a years-long relationship with some of them, have had really tough lives, like really freaking tough lives that you would not even believe. Like, I can't even make up some of the stuff. Like, one dude almost lost his life, shipwrecked, floating in the Gulf of Mexico for a day and a half. Another chick, she had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. Her husband dies in a accident at work, and then her family sets her house on fire because they didn't like how she handled the funeral. Literally. There was multiple other stories like that, and I was like, dang, am I the only one that's had a charmed life? So, anyway, and they love the Lord. So don't throw out, the baby with the bathwater with one harsh comment.
Yeah, you softened my heart to the comment with how you talked through it, and I do think there is a lot to be said about reputation. What reputation do you have, and what reputation are you building? Because your reputation is largely within your control. Of course, there's gossip that happens and drama and whatever. Sure, you can't control what people say about you, but you control how you show up to every single interaction ever. And if you don't control that, go to therapy. Yeah. Because you should be in control of your emotional management and how you react to situations and how you talk to people. And this is going to be so aggressively simple. Be a good person. Be positive. Like, go out of your way to serve other people. Be positive. Be honest, but also, like, have it together. And I know that's a very simplified way to, like, life is hard. Things are messy. But if you show up, the way you show up is what builds your reputation, not what happens to you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one of the field trips that we had on the last retreat last fall was we went to Chick-fil-A's headquarters in Atlanta, and it was so cool. That place is basically a shrine to, first, Jesus, second, Kathy, wait, what was his name? Truett Cathy, who is the founder of Chick-fil-A. And that man has a reputation just as a servant of the Lord and a humble-hearted, hardworking leader that I think will stretch many generations, and his story will still be told. And that's a guy that, just like my grandma and many of how did people multiple generations ago, our grandmas, have this like universal quality of, if she didn't have anything nice to say, she just didn't say it. I'm like, not a quality I see anymore in myself also.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I do think that there's something to take from that. If you want to improve your reputation and maybe callability in terms of people calling you up for opportunities and staying top of mind, here's some things that I'm just going to riff on that I think that if you're sitting here being like, oh, I don't think I'm that person that gets called on for opportunities. Listen, I had dinner. One of the my best friends in the group, she is um, a in the latter stages of her career, and she's the CEO of a really large nonprofit, and that it's a household name. And she, in confidence, told me that it's it's always pained her that she hasn't gotten called on for opportunities. She always has to apply. And so you're in good company, but I was like, oh my gosh, girl, you are so accomplished. It's okay. But anyway, so if you want to do something about your reputation, some things that I would recommend, and not all of these are going to land with you, and that's okay. Just take what does. But sometimes I think that people try to be liked in the workforce by complaining. Instead, I think that you should not complain about your tasks or your boss, and as best as possible leaning on the strength of the Lord, be a light there, and not just in a cheesy way. I'm not trying to speak Christianese, though I apologize that I just did, but to really speak about, it's like Philippians 4:8. Think about whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good repute. Think about these things, whatever is praiseworthy, if I haven't said that already. That passage in scripture, Philippians 4:4-8, could be a memorization verse of like, this is my anthem of the kind of professional I'm going to be, because it's shocked me how I have been around people who, this is really, really surprising. Of course, this isn't an average example, but it is an example, though extreme, of somebody who she complained about her boss and her toxic workplace, and she absolutely crapped on her entire leadership team. Even when it sounded to me they were actually not trying to do anything nefarious. I think there were some misunderstandings, and she was young, and I think I similarly said things when I was very early in my career, and then she asked me for a job, and I was like, girl, not once in my entire life would I want to hire someone immediately after you just had no sense of responsibility for what you could do and you could change, and you spoke so ungraciously about your situation. Your jobs are allowed to be bad, bosses are allowed to be bad, but you could still speak about them with tact and grace, and just matter of factly without blame. And so, yeah, be mindful if that is something that pricks your conscience. It's okay if you don't resonate with that. Some other things that you could do are update your LinkedIn regularly, just with, even if it seems like a lighthearted update. It doesn't have to be the most serious thing. If you post a picture from a team dinner that happens, why don't you go ahead and call out all the good work that you're seeing other people do? This is not even a post about you, but when you speak well of other people, people actually attribute those qualities to you subconsciously. It's kind of a funny thing. And so also, if you're popping up on people's LinkedIn profiles or feeds, you don't have to have a post about yourself. Rather, it just it gives them some like dopamine, and like, oh wow, that's cool that she's part of a team, or that she says that about her coworkers. What is he or she up to? They click on your profile, and they see your headline, they see your the role that you're operating in now. And I think it's a really good practice. A professor told me this in college, and I totally ignored it until later in life. But he said it's a good practice to pull out your resume every 6 weeks and see if another bullet needs to be added or revised. Like, what have you been accomplishing? And if you're updating your LinkedIn profile, somebody can go in and check. And you don't have to publicly say, hey, I just led this new initiative, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, it's getting traffic to your profile. So all in all, I think the headline on that point that I just made was, why don't you grow in public? Like, be available, be known. Because if you're not known, how can people reach out to you and know what they can come to you for when they need help? If you're available, if you're just have a like very vague LinkedIn profile, not a clear sense that people can immediately within just 3 seconds tell what you help with and what you're good at, then it makes it harder to refer you to opportunities or to bring you to mind when something comes up at my company. So those are some things that I think people can do with what initially was kind of a harsh comment.
Yeah. I really do want to encourage everyone to go watch the YouTube video and watch how hard I rolled my eyes when Kelsey brought up the complaining thing, because that is something I'm very passionate about. Like people who complain. I always kind of joke that I'm the person who complains about people complaining. But it really is such an attractive quality when you can come with genuine positivity. And that's something that I coach clients on, is actually finding that route. Like, I was talking to someone yesterday who she needs to get started on social media. She's not really excited about it. So when she talks about it to other people, it kind of becomes this negative thing. And I said, hey, something I know about you is that you love a challenge. So social media, you love learning new things. So yes, you're not really excited about social media. It's good to just be honest with people, especially your friends, when they're kind of checking in on you. But you can genuinely turn that into a positive, saying, but you know what? I know something about me is that I love a challenge. So this is just the new challenge in front of me, and I can't wait to get after it. And because there is a toxic positivity, which we don't really need to get into all that. The way that you avoid that is just being genuine about it. So actually finding that genuine positivity within you and learning to nourish that and to grow that. If that's not something that comes naturally to you right now, it can. And along with the LinkedIn thing, I've been working with a lot of people recently who have this fear of being seen. And I would encourage everyone to kind of look inward and, do you have a fear of being seen? Because if you have a fear of
ask
being
God to
seen,
help you with that. Just,
mm-hmm.
that's my favorite hack. Have you asked God to help you with it?
Seriously, to reveal some wisdom around it,
Yeah.
works every time. It's in scripture. Ask wisdom, you shall receive. So what was I going to say with that? This fear of being seen. If you subconsciously have that fear, you're not going to put yourself out there. You're not going to make yourself available to be the person that is called upon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just always equate it to the, of course, this is a spiritual truth, but I think it is also an overarching truth that we could derive from the passage that says, be the salt and light of the earth, be a city on a hill, a lamp that cannot be hidden. Oh, I think I messed up the last part, but go to the Bible, original primary source. But in summary, to close out this point and to make sure that you get quickly the other few points that I took from the group, because certainly there was some more tangible things that they recommend for those of you who are applying to jobs. You don't purely have to rely on this first point that's more about preparing yourself to be hireable. There is also advice that they had for the application process. But to close out this one, the point was basically another person brought up the book The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. He's a really famous writer. He wrote the Working Genius book and the personality assessment that we really enjoy using. His most famous book was Five Dysfunctions of a Team. But in this book about the ideal team player, the core premise is the ideal team player is humble, hungry, like hardworking, hungry to succeed, hungry to contribute and do a good job. And they're smart. So hungry, humble, smart. And the person kindly elaborated on what smart means, because I was like, yeah, say more. Obviously, we all hope to be smart, but what does that mean to you? And he said that smart isn't even primarily about IQ, like your intelligence and competence. Actually, the majority of what many of the people in the room at least agreed with that they are looking for in candidates is EQ, or emotional quotient, emotional intelligence. And what I looked this up, the definition of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, empathy, and the ability to relate to others effectively. And if you had that, I do not think that you would be making the mistakes that we elaborated on earlier around being negative and bad mouthing and having a lack of self-awareness. So anyway, many people did really agree that it's very hard to find candidates that are humble, hungry, and smart. Humble, yeah, I would say that's like not. I mean a lot of people that are humble. Hungry, I would say that is not super common. I would say that's the minority of people. I do think a lot of people just want to cruise. And that's fine if you're not upset. I don't make myself get excited or hungry about every job. I took it as my personal responsibility to find the job that I was hungry for. And that goes into one of the other points is wait, I'm going to have to relate this to point number 5. I'm skipping all the way down. The number one thing that they are looking for in the interview process, this seems very universal amongst the whole group, is the quality of the questions you will ask them throughout the interview, particularly at the end. If you sound disinterested, don't have very many, and don't have very good quality, like they're very generic questions, they quote said, "That shows me you want a job, not this job." And so that's a part of being hungry. You could show that you are hungry for this job by doing your research and preparing really smart questions. Some of the favorites that we coach our clients on is what is the difference between good and great in a role like this? Like, what are your favorite qualities from some of the last people that have been high performers in a role like this? What are the first things that you want me to take off your plate that will be the biggest relief to you and the team once I step in? You could also say things like, I saw in the latest, you could quote the latest piece of news, if there is any from that company. You could look up if they're publicly traded, if they have a quarterly earnings report. You could see what the overarching company initiatives are, and you could ask what this team's responsibility is to specifically contribute to that overarching initiative. And overall, there you can ask ChatGPT for some other ideas, but I thought that was kind of like a yeah, I've heard that a million times, that questions are important, but I thought that was just something that thought leaders post online when they don't know what else to say, and it's not like, I don't know, that groundbreaking, but people were so freaking fired up when they said, yes, it's the questions that I'm looking for. So that's one way that you could show that you're hungry and smart. Other points: don't wait for openings, make an opening happen. Again, this is going to be, Lord willing, one of our client stories that is about to be published. So we do see this happen not infrequently. Like, this is a consistent part of our practice, is teaching people not only how to land great job opportunities that are made public and posted, but also get companies to create jobs for you. The amazing example that was shared in the group is a woman that owns her own business. She was saying her husband found his dream company that he was like, I need to work for you. So he reaches out to the founder and does a bit of research on him, and saw that he went to a very obscure university, I think in Oregon or something. And his initial outreach is fairly short, and this is what we teach our clients too. I was really glad to see that they all agree with that put some notes in there to show that you're researched, but don't be overly verbose. That's really unattractive, actually. But he said some affirmative things about their company. He introduced himself, shared what he did, and asked, like, what can I do to help you? What are some things that I could take off your plate? I'm so eager to collaborate. And then he closed the email with, Go Wolves, or whatever the mascot is. And it was so like, what? That's that it piqued the founder's interest. And oh, I'm remembering now. I think the email included, he's like, I drafted up some XYZ solution. Like, I created this whole website for you, or some kind of dashboard. I can't remember exactly what he created, but he created something for the company. And he said, can I send you a Loom showing you what I made? And so it was a very juicy hook.
Mm-hmm.
And why he did that was, apparently if you put a link in an email that, and you're out of their, you're not on their contact list, it could be at risk for going to their spam box. And so the Go Wolves, he gets a response back, says, yeah, send me the video. So he sends the video and keeps on following up, makes a really good reputation with the owner. And the owner's like, listen, I want to hire you, but we do not have any openings. This is a startup. It's lean. We don't have extra budget. I do not know when a position could open, but you'll be first in mind. Was not good enough for this guy. This guy keeps on being like, no problem. Yeah, what's the next thing that I could do for you? And I don't think that he like accidentally took on any sort of part-time job. He, I think, did have boundaries, but he just kept in touch and kept asking for things to do and providing value and showing that he really wanted it, to finally, I think it was 3 months later, which isn't in the scheme of things that long, he got an email from the founder that said, all right, we're creating the best I could do right now is create a contract position for you. It's temporary, but it will be full-time. Wow.
Wow.
And he got
That's
that foot in the
amazing.
door. And you better believe that the founder really, really does know that he just landed gold. Like, this is the most ideal candidate that you could have. Someone who's like knocking down your door with value, not just requests. That's the key point, because like an experienced founder will not, you're saying their company is really cool and you're passionate about what they do is not enough. It's really not enough, because that founder's primary job is to make sure the company keeps on existing and that payroll gets paid and shareholders, if there are any, get a return. And so I really think that you have to lead with value, and that guy did, and that's how he got a job. And a lot of people were shaking their heads like, yeah, don't wait for openings, make an opening. Another one, read directions. So this seemed particularly relevant to those who had posted more entry-level jobs that got a tremendous amount of applications. Ironically, it was a position that was for, like, you were supposed to be an admin assistant, like an executive assistant, which requires high responsibility and attention to detail. And not one of the 100 applicants read the instructions and completed the application properly. Not one of them. Not one of them. It was a joke. And I have actually experienced the same thing. I have had application or postings that I can barely even justify interviewing 2 people, and then I hire none of them. Because, and it's not because I think I'm queen of the universe and I'm like that insanely picky. It's just like truly no one even cared to prepare for the interview or follow the instructions in the application process. And they weren't that crazy. So yeah, don't underestimate how many people are truly not even reading instructions. So don't count yourself out. You might be an all-star in somebody's eyes just by doing that. Then wrapping up here, just 3 more quick points. They said to stand out, be really creative. You know, they were lauding the guy that, like, you know, kept on pitching the founder, but particularly they said in interviews, be consultative, not just a robot that answers questions. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. It's almost as if you read our curriculum.
Yeah.
Exactly what we teach clients. It was so funny. They were like telling me all these things as if I didn't know it. I was like, no, yeah, like No, I'm not saying this because our clients aren't getting jobs. Like, I'm just generally wondering. And it was so validating. You better believe my confidence went through the roof when I heard that. So what it means to be consultative in an interview rather than just reactive in answering the questions is you are trying to turn it into a conversation respectfully from the beginning. So I say respectfully, like maybe you wait like a question or two that you give them the ability to lead it, but you tag on the end of your answers to their questions, you tag on your own question and you ask, as a consultant would, well, why is that a problem for you? Or what are the main challenges that you're experiencing right now? What have been the hard things about hiring for this role so far? What you could ask about their goals, the main categories that you want, their goals, their challenges, and the things they've already tried to get their goal and overcome those challenges. You really want that last piece, and most people forget it because you don't want to start spitting out solutions that maybe on the outside they're nice and they're like nodding and smiling, but on the inside they're like, yeah, dummy, like we already tried that, like we're not idiots. And so it's really, really good to fully get those three parts of the equation. And when you do that, you show again that you are humble, hungry, and smart, because you know that they are not hiring to warm a seat. They're hiring because they have a pain point and a problem and a need, and you are trying to get to the bottom of how to solve that. And it also shows that you're trying to make sure that you really are the right person for the job, which shows a tremendous amount of conscientiousness and self-awareness. So with that, there is one caveat. This leads to my next point, and then I'm going to shut up after the last one. Sorry for my little monologue. I hope it's valuable.
I think it's very valuable. This is all
Okay,
really helpful information.
thank you. Thanks so much, girl. Okay, so the caveat here that I thought was so amazing, this one actually surprised me. It was, multiple people said this, do your research, but do not be creepy. Do not be creepy, because they said that some people are like really not natural at all about their research. They're like, oh, I saw that you did this. And it's like, okay, yeah, thanks. And then I'm sure that your time at the National Science Foundation also was this. And then I know we both grew up at blah. And it's like, be cool, bro. You know, it just felt to, as they were saying to them, it felt name droppy, or like I'm trying to get as many robot bonus points as possible, and it didn't seem just like very authentic, and like you were really trying to connect. And there's grace for you being nervous and being awkward. I really do think that I am awkward so often, and that's like just the power of prayer in interviews. I'm like, Jesus, I know that you could do a miracle. Can you please just help soften my awkwardness and help my nerves and magically help it land better in their ears than I think it's coming out. And so, yeah, I think there's grace there, but do know that it can be creepy if you overdo this and don't act normal. The research.
That's so funny. It's true. And awkwardness lands when it's just you're also confident. If you work on the confidence, the awkwardness just becomes part of your personality, and it's quirky and it's cute and it's relatable. So
Yep, that's what I've had to adapt to so I don't fall prey to natural selection. I would be unemployable if I didn't learn how to curb my awkwardness. But okay, are you ready for my very last point, my gal?
I'm excited about this one. Give it to us.
Well, I hope it's worthy of being the last point, but it is. The world owes you nothing. I think that helps us actually be humble. The world owes you nothing. You're not owed a response to, especially most like job seeking, inquiring emails. People, and that's not just meant to be a slap in your face or anyone else's. It's actually, I hope, one that helps you have grace for other people. Like, oh, yeah, I just have no idea what's going on in this company. And I have no idea what's going on in this person's schedule. And I have no idea if this person even ever logs into LinkedIn to see my message. I think humility comes from embracing how much you don't know and how much is not in your control. However, the opposite side of realizing the world owes you nothing is it's meant to ignite your own sense of faithful responsibility. That if others owe me nothing, I really like, I'm not owed a cushy job just kind of because, like, whatever you think about yourself, like, because I went to college, or I'm cute and funny, or I've always had jobs like this. Um, my encouragement would be to take this realization to say, all right, it really is my job to deliver value, improve the helpfulness that I could give to this organization. Like, I, if you are not receiving the response you want, it might just be because you oftentimes need to get your numbers up. Like, when you realize the world owes you nothing, you could stop freaking out about the 5 messages you sent out to hiring managers and recruiters and heard nothing from. And instead just be like, all right, so it's my job to, like my favorite passage, Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verses 1 through 6. It's my job, biblically, to quote, let my hands not be idle, because I do not know whether this or that will work or if both will work equally well. I think that's just one of the most beautiful, supportive verses to our attitude at work, because we just don't know. So it's my job to just keep on trucking along. And if I'm not the person or not right now for somebody, bless and release. And also take feedback as it comes. Be self-aware and always be looking for how can I improve. I've realized painfully myself recently that I have made a tremendous amount of bets in the last 6 months on a new avenue of business growth that honestly really has not been working out. And it has taken up almost all of my personal earnings, and it has been very painful. It's basically, just to not be clipped about it, is I've tried out Facebook and Instagram ads, and I've really had to protect my mind from marketers that make it just seem so easy. I'm not even doing it myself. Like, I've hired expert help, and I've just realized, like, wow, this, I am facing a lot of disappointment because I felt entitled for it to be easy for me. And I'm not. I'm not entitled to anything. So now I think, after the Lord helped me with that realization in the last week of, like, yet another test not working out and me being really frustrated and kind of ashamed about that, I am realizing, wow, yeah, it's my time to realize that the ad landscape has changed. And I don't get to just throw up like one static ad and put it directly to a sales page and build trust with somebody that quickly. I actually do have to put 20 times more effort into building trust with a new customer than I had initially anticipated in my foolish optimism.
Mm.
And you know what? That customer, whoever they are, is, they don't owe me anything, but I do owe them the runway to gain trust and show that their hard-earned dollars can be spent here. And so, like, that lack of entitlement is, or addressing the presence of entitlement, is something that I myself have had a little tear over, like today. Okay, so you're in good company and we're all learning together. So I hope that this episode is one that was helpful to you, dear listener. And I do want you to know that while one of my, I had like a feed on both sides of the equation. I was partway in this room full of business leaders that I'm honored to be associated with, but I was always partway with my foot firmly planted, listening to you guys, empathizing with just how hard it could be to be a job seeker. So I do want you to know that there's so much grace, and God's power is made perfect through your weakness. So you could all the more gladly boast in your weaknesses. I always forget where that is. Is it like 1 Corinthians 12?
Second Corinthians 12, verse 10.
Oh, thanks, homie. Yeah.
Around there.
But it's in there. It's in there. Like, that can be our rallying cry. So do know that as we live in the tension of needing to work on ourselves, we could also land softly in a meadow of grace. So we love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. To get an even more meaningful head start into your calling, head to thecalledcareer.com, where my fellow career coach Audrey and I have created a whole suite of free resources and tools to help you get clear and get a job today. For those who are definitely ready to land a job or start a business in the next 6 to 12 months, we're here to help you biblically and practically discern your calling through coaching, reflection, and deep market research. Identify the job that's aligned with it, even if you currently have no idea what you want. Rebrand your resume and LinkedIn to translate your background to appeal to your future boss. P.S. We take this off your plate and do this for you. Also, we'll teach you how to land referrals and get attention from leadership through networking. Again, if that makes you nervous, we have these emails and LinkedIn messages literally written for you so you don't have to sweat. We're also here to give you unlimited interview practice so you're prepared to address every elephant in the room and knock selling yourself out of the park. Then we'll round out with helping you negotiate your salary so you land thousands more. Just so you know, recent clients have gotten $8,000 to $50,000 salary increases, even though they were totally non-traditional candidates. That's because we specialize in helping non-traditional career pivoters land jobs they're ecstatic to serve in. It takes work, but we're here to see you through until the end, when we're celebrating that day that you send me an email in all caps and you say, "Kelsey, I got the job." Then you could be on the podcast. But I'll be here until then, keeping you accountable and encouraged by meeting with you literally until you land the job you want, even if that's up to 6 months from now within our program. Apply to join at thecalledcareer.com, and I'll see you next week here at Answer the Call. Bye for now.